Welcome to Crash Course History. Today's topic is the Montgomery Bus Boycott. We all know the story that on December 1st, 1955, just 4 days before the boycott had begun, Rosa Parks, an African-American woman, refused to yield her seat to a white man on a Montgomery bus. She was then arrested and fined. Just 9 months before Parks's arrest, 15-year-old girl Claudette Colvin also refused to give up her seat to a white person. Colvin did not violate the city bus policy by not relinquishing her seat. She was not sitting in the front seats reserved for the whites. However, due to the segregation of the time, she was arrested on March 2nd, 1955. Back to Parks' story. When the white seats filled, driver James Blake asked Parks and 3 others to vacate their seats. The other African-American riders complied, but Parks refused. She was arrested and fined $10 plus $4 in court fees. That's $123.12 converted in 2015. Secretary of the NAACP at the time, Parks called in E.D. Nixon, who bailed her out of jail and determined she would be an upstanding and sympathetic plaintiff in a legal challenge of the segregation ordinance. African American leaders decided to attack the ordinance using other tactics as well. Joanne Robinson, president of the Women's Political Council, a group of black women who lobbied the city and state on black issues, began circulating flyers calling for a boycott of the bus system on December 5th. The day Parks would be tried in municipal court. So here, everything was brought together. 16 to 18 people gathered at the Mount Zion Church to discuss strategies. The leaders of the movement agreed that a new organization was needed to lead the boycott effort if it was to continue. The Reverend Ralph Abernathy suggested the name Montgomery Improvement Association, and it was then adopted. But who would lead them? Well, the people elected the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. as their new leader, and this was the spot where the Reverend gave his very first speech that inspired the continuation of the boycott. We'll get back to him later. So, the historic Montgomery bus boycott had begun. It lasted for 381 days, a span during which life for every black Montgomeryan changed dramatically. It was an inspiring movement in which approximately 40,000 black Montgomeryans took part in and refused to ride buses to any part in town. Black taxi companies transported former bus riders. Most of these companies charged only 10 cents per ride. Many simply walked. But black churches brought cars and station wagons for the transportation system. Pickup and delivery routes were established around the city, and the carpool system developed into an efficient and effective means of transportation. The group had goals. Initially, the demands did not include changing the segregation laws. Rather, the group demanded courtesy, the hiring of black drivers, and a first-come, first-seated policy. However, an official action designed to deter boycott leaders came in February 1956, when the Montgomery grand jury indicted 89 boycott leaders, including King, Parks, and Abernathy. The charges were based on a 1921 state law that barred boycotts without just cause. The boycott continued. A hearing on Browder v. Gale was held in Montgomery on May 11, 1956. The plaintiffs outlined the harsh treatment on city buses. The attorneys for the black plaintiffs argued that the Supreme Court ruling in Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka applied not only to public education, but to public transportation as well. On June 5th, the special panel ruled 2-1 in favor of the black plaintiffs. The concurring opinion stated that the separate but equal doctrine applied not only to public schools, but to public transportation. Unable to accept the court's decision, the city appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which upheld the lower court's decision and ruled in favor of the plaintiffs in the Browder v. Gale case on December 20, 1956. Montgomery's buses were integrated on December 21, 1956, and the boycott had finally ended. Back to MLK. In his leadership of the MIA, Martin Luther King Jr. emerged as a prominent national leader of the civil rights movement, while also solidifying his commitment to nonviolence resistance. Rosa Parks, while shying from the spotlight throughout her life, remained an esteemed figure in the history of American civil rights activism. She received the Congressional Gold Medal in 1999. American civil rights legislation became the basis for affirmative action. Although the bus system was desegregated, they faced the KKK, who used intimidation methods to ruin the civil rights efforts. After the boycott, the SCLC was formed by MLK Jr. to encourage nonviolence resistance.
Free created using Powtoon.